A Jeopardy producer has revealed the skill that Drew Basile should work on before he participates in a high-stakes spin-off game. On Friday, the Survivor 45 alum concluded his Jeopardy journey after losing his 8th game. Drew first appeared on June 19, completely wiping the competition as he ended Adriana Harmeyer's impressive 15-day streak. On Monday's new episode of the podcast, Inside Jeopardy!, producers Sarah Whitcomb-Foss and Buzzy Cohen discussed Drew and Adriana's game stats. Sarah and Buzzy talked about what Drew needs to work on the most as he prepares for the Tournament of Champions. "One stat that isn't quite as great for Drew is Final Jeopardy!," Sarah said. "Obviously, with so many runaways, he didn't need it very much, but he was only 3 for 8, so about 38% of correct FJ responses. So, when you compare that to Adriana, who was 13 for 16 of correct Final Jeopardy guesses, probably something Drew is going to work on before talk, I'm guessing." Staying in the moment. In response, Buzzy explained how a contestant may miss the mark on the Final Jeopardy questions. "That is something specific that you can get better at and work on. I think that Final Jeopardy plays really differently, it's written differently as we discussed with our head writers. I think a big part of it that's hard for people, I don't know if this was a challenge for Drew but it was a challenge for me, is that you stare at that category for a long time. 'Cause you start to think about what it could be and then the clue comes up and you're like, whoa, this isn't what I thought it was gonna be. So, working on just kind of not totally clearing your mind but staying in the moment definitely is something I think Drew, given how great the rest of his play is, I think he'll be able to punch it out." Drew versus Adriana. On Adriana's final game show episode on June 19, Drew had a runaway lead of $23,600 before the Final Jeopardy! During her run, Adriana had the 11th longest streak of all time on the show. Meanwhile, Adriana was in 3rd place with $9,300, more than $1,000 short of opponent Telka Sauter. Telka was the only player to get the FJ question correct, but Drew, knowing that he won the game, wrote down Jeopardy! As a joke answer, finishing his game with $18,601. However, fans thought Adriana and Drew's exchange was rather awkward as they shook hands after the game. Drew was the first to initiate the handshake by awkwardly putting his hand out for Adriana to shake. She waited a moment before briefly shaking his hand before moving to Telka. Both Telka and Drew were smiling while Adriana kept a straight face. On Friday, Drew said goodbye to Jeopardy and fans congratulated a new winner, Kat Pizzicato, who lost her 2nd game on Monday. After host Ken Jennings, 50, closed out the show, the camera panned to the 3 contestants who shook hands with one another. Jeopardy! Producer reveals skill Drew Basile wasn't great at compared to Adriana Harmeyer and should work on for Tournament of Champions ***. It was a calm afternoon in the Jeopardy! Production office when the show's longtime producer, Michael Davies, decided to take a moment to reflect on the recent Tournament of Champions qualifiers. The room was filled with the buzz of preparation as the team worked tirelessly to ensure every detail was perfect for the upcoming season. With the air conditioner humming softly in the background, Davies flipped through the profiles of the top contestants, his mind focused on one player in particular, Drew Basile. Drew had shown remarkable prowess during his stint on Jeopardy!, clinching victories with an impressive display of knowledge across a wide range of categories. His quick reflexes on the buzzer and his strategic gameplay had earned him a spot in the Tournament of Champions, an achievement that only the best could boast. Yet, as Davies scrutinized the game tapes and performance statistics, he couldn't shake the feeling that there was one area where Drew seemed to lag behind his peers, particularly Adriana Harmeyer. Adriana, a contestant from the previous season, had become something of a legend in the Jeopardy! Community. Her uncanny ability to anticipate the direction of the questions and her seamless integration of knowledge and strategy made her a formidable opponent. Adriana's gameplay was a masterclass in precision, timing, and intellectual agility. Her consistency in hitting daily doubles and making the right wagers had left an indelible mark on the show. Davies tapped his pen on the desk, deep in thought. He admired Drew's determination and his exceptional grasp of trivia, but he couldn't ignore the one skill that seemed to set Adriana apart, her exceptional wagering strategy. Drew's wagering, while competent, lacked the finesse and foresight that Adriana demonstrated with such ease. It was a crucial aspect of the game, one that could mean the difference between winning and losing in the high-stakes environment of the Tournament of Champions. With this in mind, Davies decided to share his insights with Drew in the hopes of helping him refine his approach. He picked up the phone and dialed Drew's number, waiting for the familiar voice on the other end. "Hello, this is Drew," came the cheerful response. "Hi, Drew. It's Michael Davies from Jeopardy. How are you doing?" Davies asked, his tone warm and encouraging. "Hi, Michael. I'm doing great, thanks. What's up?" "Well, I wanted to talk to you about something that I think could really help you in the Tournament of Champions. You've been incredible so far, but I've noticed an area where you might need a bit of work," Davies said carefully, not wanting to dampen Drew's spirits. "Sure, I'm all ears. What is it?" "It's about your wagering strategy. You're great at answering questions and your buzzer timing is spot on, but your wagers, particularly on daily doubles and Final Jeopardy, could use some fine-tuning. I've reviewed the tapes and compared them to some of our top players, like Adriana Harmeyer, and there's a noticeable difference. Adriana's wagering is almost an art form. She knows exactly how much to risk and when to play it safe. I think with some focused practice, you could elevate your game to that level." Drew was silent for a moment, absorbing the feedback. He had always prided himself on his trivia knowledge, but wagering was something he had never given much thought to beyond basic calculations. He realized that Davies was right. In the Tournament of Champions, every detail mattered, and he needed to be at his best. "Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate the feedback. I've always focused on the trivia part of the game, but I see now that wagering is just as important. I'll definitely work on it," Drew replied with newfound determination. Davies smiled, feeling a sense of satisfaction. He knew that Drew had the potential to become a true champion, and with this adjustment, he might just have the edge he needed. "Great to hear, Drew. If you'd like, I can connect you with some resources and even set up a session with a past champion who can give you some pointers."